You are listening to the Stetson Students Podcast, where we post all of the series and messages from our student ministry. We are a ministry connected to Stetson Baptist Church, where we are for DeLand and for Jesus. If you would like to learn anything more about our ministries, please check out our social medias or go to stetsonbaptistchurch.org.
My name is Grady. I'm in ninth grade, and I go to Father Lopez. I'm reading the scripture tonight. Consequently, when Christ came into the world, he said, "Sacrifices and offerings have you not desired, but a body you have prepared for me. And burnt offerings and sin offerings you have taken no pleasure." Then I said, "Behold, I have come to do your will, O God, as it is written of me in the scroll of the book."
Awesome. Unmute myself? Yeah, okay. I had muted myself and unmuted. Was I unmuted the whole time? Could y'all? No, don't tell me you could hear me. Okay, thanks. Like, I'm going to tell you that is one of the scariest things. I actually did that one week, and you could hear me singing the closing song, and I'm surprised anybody came back. I'm not going to lie. It was, I could not sing. So, well, cool. Well, I'm so glad that you are with us tonight. And just to jump in, is anybody like a huge sports fan in the room? Do we have? Okay, yeah. All right, that was way too quick, buddy. Way too quick. Is anybody keeping up with March Madness? Is anybody? Nobody? Yeah. I guess like at this point, it's like your bracket's completely toast, and there's very little hope. So we do have a March Madness bracket going right now, challenge. So somebody's going to win $50. I don't know who's winning right now. But it's funny enough. I was huge into basketball. Basketball was my sport. Cannot stand college basketball. I think it's a terrible example of what basketball is supposed to be. I listen. I'm sorry. It's just too trash for me. So I'm a big NBA fan. But basketball was huge for me because it really did take up a lot of who I was. And that, sometimes sports can do that. And maybe you have a hobby and it's not a sport, and it really does that. It takes up a lot of your time, takes up a lot of your attention, takes a lot. Honestly, it's like if somebody were to ask you, how would you describe yourself, or what would you use to describe yourself? You might use a sport. You might say, I would use this sport or this thing. Well, that was me growing up. Basketball was my thing. And whenever something along the lines of a hobby, a sport, a grouping, whatever it is, becomes so, like, you become so infatuated with it, there comes a moment where you got to sacrifice a lot, really. Like you got to sacrifice a lot of who you are. I'm going to pause real quick. I see my adult leaders. Let's go ahead and pass it. If you want to take notes tonight, go and raise your hand, as well as if you would, so if you'd like to take notes on a notebook and a notepad, we're going to bring you one to help you out with that. So, but sacrifice is a huge part of taking something serious. And I don't know about you, but for me, basketball, I had to sacrifice a lot so that I could earn my spot. I don't know if you know much about basketball, but being 5'8", and that doesn't really help. That usually doesn't work well in a lot of sports. And so I had to sacrifice a lot of time, a lot of energy to go and practice, to put in extra hours so that I could earn my spot on the team, earn my spot in really to play the game and to excel at it. But really, when we talk about sacrifice in anything, usually we sacrifice to earn something. Wouldn't you agree? Does that make sense? Like when you sacrifice something, it's usually out of a desire to earn something. Maybe that's a sport, so you sacrifice time for a sport. Maybe it's a hobby. You sacrifice time for a hobby, or sacrifice energy for a hobby so that you can earn being good at it, or earn some admiration for it. Maybe it's grades, like you sacrifice hanging out with your friends, or sacrifice doing things that you want to do to study so that you can have good grades and earn good grades and earn a better scoring and earn better school and so forth. Maybe it's even, if we're honest, relationships. So you sacrifice things that you would prefer to do for somebody else so that you can have a better relationship. Maybe that's a romantic relationship, but also that could be a friendship, sacrificing things of yourself to earn a better friendship with somebody and do something that they would prefer to do. Maybe it's even, if we're honest, I've been here, maybe there's even a little bit of that in your family, of sacrificing things for your family so that you can earn a better spot within the family footing. Like I have a brother. I know that there can be some hard times of me wanting, of us wanting to kind of be the better son or better child. And maybe that's not you. And if not, great. But maybe there's something else of like sacrificing something for your family so they would do something for you in return. But you see what I'm saying? Sacrifice usually is heavily or uniquely tied to earning. And if we're not careful, this isn't just true of our life. If we're not careful, this will be true of our faith as well. And that can be detrimental. That can be detrimental because I don't know if you know this, you are not in an earning faith. You don't do good things and then God looks at you and rewards you and says, okay, you're following me well. Now we have a good relationship. Some of you are like, thank goodness. And some of you are like, dang, I'm a do-gooder, and that would be really awesome, right? But I'm going to show you that wherever you sit in that area of like, I'm glad that's true, or man, I wish it was the other way. There's a lot of goodness in that fact. And it actually leads us to a really, really cool place tonight in Hebrews 10, okay? So we're going to be in Hebrews 10, picking up at the very, very beginning of Hebrews 10. If you have not been with us, we actually took a 2-week break, one for spring break and one for our night of worship, but we're jumping back into Hebrews as we finish off, or we are halfway through, so we're making our way through the last half of Hebrews over the next 4 weeks. But as we've said before, we're kind of jumping around in Hebrews, so where we pick up, we hear a lot about this word sacrifice, and you're going to hear it a lot, and we've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it every week if I need to. Hebrews is a great book to help us understand how to read the Old Testament now. I think sometimes we can be very, very scared of the Old Testament because we don't know how to read it now as Christians, because there's a lot of language in there. There's a lot of talking about things that you're like, I don't know if this applies anymore. Well, Hebrews helps you understand that because it was written to people trying to understand, how do I take the Hebrew faith and now make it my own and make it a Christian faith with Jesus? And so in this, he's talking about sacrifice. And sacrifice, not in the way of like, I give up something, I give up my time, I give up my energy. No, like sacrifice as in I'm killing an animal. Sacrifice is as in like I'm going to a place where slaughtering an animal and their blood is atoning for my sins. Welcome to church, right? Aren't we glad? I don't know about you. Like sometimes I think about that. I'm like, thank goodness that we don't do that now. Not even for the slaughter part, but I don't want to be a farm. Like I'm not good with animals and like grossness, and I feel like pigs and all those lambs, and I feel like they're dirty and that would be nasty. Some of you are like, I deal with that on a daily basis. Good for you. We need people like you, so people like me can complain about it. Okay, that's our relationship. But where we pick up is him explaining. You have to remember the reader's thoughts are, I do this. I sacrifice these animals. I sacrifice this grain. I sacrifice daily, weekly, yearly in order to earn God's forgiveness. I have sinned, so I need to sacrifice. That's kind of what they're walking into this conversation already thinking, or where their mind is. And so the writer is about to blow their minds, picking up in verse 1. He says this, "For since the law has but a shadow of the good things to come, instead of the true form of these realities, it can never, by the same sacrifices that are continually offered every single year, make perfect those who draw near." So he starts and he says, hey, these sacrifices, they can't do what you think they're doing. It's impossible. He continues, otherwise, they would have ceased to be offered, since the worshipers, having once been cleansed, would no longer have any consciousness of sins. But in these sacrifices, there is a reminder of sins every year. For it is impossible for the blood of bulls and of goats to take away sins. So what's he saying? He's basically saying the way you've been thinking about this is all wrong. You see, just because it's a sacrifice doesn't mean it's getting you the end that you once thought it was. You sacrificed so that you could be forgiven. He's saying that makes no sense. He's basically saying, hey, throw that in the trash. Why? Well, because he makes it clear. He's like, if that were true, then you wouldn't have to sacrifice as much as you do. You have to sacrifice every day. Why? Because you continue to go back to sin. And if your sacrifice was the sacrifice needed for forgiveness, then you wouldn't have to do that because you wouldn't sin anymore. Because God needed a perfect sacrifice, something that was going to cleanse it all the way. And he's saying these bulls and these goats, their blood does not do that. Instead, they are just constant reminders. In other words, they are simple placeholders. Now, when I think of placeholders, I think of two things. One is a specific thing that some of you are going to get and some of you aren't, and that's okay because I have a more broad one too. One thing is actually when I first came to this church, I was visiting, and we walked up to me and my wife. We walked up to the worship center, and we went to go inside, and we grabbed the door, and it was locked. It was Sunday morning, and I don't know if you know this. Churches usually are open on Sunday morning, and if they're not, there's a problem. It's kind of the best day to do church. And so we walk up, we grab the door, it's locked. But then we see that people are walking in another building. It's the gym right here. And so we walk in, we realize, oh, this is where the worship is being, like the chairs were set up, the stage was set. And so we went to talk to somebody and they're like, yeah, we're doing renovations. We're rebuilding the worship center. If you haven't been seen, our worship center has been done for a few years now. It's beautiful. It's awesome. If you haven't been there, come on, go check it out. It's a lot of fun. We still do church on Sunday. The doors will be open. It will not be locked on you. But we're walking in there, we're hanging out. It's great. They did a great job. But can I tell you, we walked out going, I cannot wait to see what the worship center looks like when it's fully open. Do you know what would have been really sad? If we came back and Pastor Dan, he's the senior pastor, if he looked at me and he said, hey, Nate, we're so glad you're here. By the way, we've decided never to use the worship center again. We're only using the gym. I think people would have been really sad. Because we paid a lot of money for the worship center, so I think people would be like, where'd my money go, But also because the worship center, no offense to the gym, it's not meant to be the worship center. It was a placeholder. It was there for a time. It had its purpose. It served its purpose, but everybody who walked in there knew there's going to come a time where something better's on its way. It was a placeholder. Here's the second one. If you don't get that, it's okay. I found this picture, and this is not the picture of what. Oh, it's actually up here. So I don't know if you see this. That's a house, and I don't know if you see this. Those are rocks sitting on top of each other. So this is not the exact picture because I couldn't get the exact picture. But I once drove by a church that was like this. It was sitting on a rock. Like one corner of it was on the rock. I don't know if you know this, that's not stable, and that's going to fall at some point. And when a house falls, I don't know if you know this, house goes, it doesn't go, hey, we're good. No, like it breaks. And so that house, so here's what I'm saying. Those rocks are a placeholder because that better not be permanent. Because if that's permanent, that house is no longer a house. It is just a bunch of wood on the ground, right? A placeholder. It serves its purpose for a time, but something better, more permanent is coming. Make sense? Sacrifice. The way the Old Testament viewed it. It served its purpose well, but it was never meant to be the full thing. There was something better on the way. What was that better? Well, it's explained in verse 5. Consequently, because of all this, because the sacrifices couldn't do what you think they were meant to do, when Christ came into the world, he said, sacrifices and offerings you have no desire, but a body you have prepared for me. And burnt offerings and sin offerings you have taken no pleasure. Just as what he's saying, hey, the sacrifices, that's not what you wanted. You didn't, you made that way for people to know they needed me. God, you prepared a body for me. You prepared a body for Jesus to come and be the perfect sacrifice, knowing that these regular sacrifices of animals and of blood and of wheat and the daily and the weekly and the yearly, they were just for the people to know we need Jesus. Somebody better is on the way. I can't do this on my own. I need somebody to do it for me. But it doesn't matter if this verse doesn't exist. Jesus says this, "Then I said, behold, I have come to do your will, O God, as it is written for me in the scroll of the book." Jesus answers the call of, I need to be a perfect sacrifice with the statement, the exclamation, I am willing. Jesus was the perfect sacrifice. Jesus was the perfect sacrifice that cleansed it all, that we needed, because the regular sacrifices were never going to do the job. They were a placeholder for Jesus, who was predestined to be the perfect sacrifice. I want to make this very tangible for us so we understand what are we saying today, because I know this can be confusing. There's a lot here. And I just want you to walk out with this statement, knowing this statement, and then I have a few things about the statement that I think are good as we close, okay? Here's your statement for the day. Our sacrifice is because what Jesus has done, not to earn what Jesus has done. Listen, sacrifice is still a part of our daily life. And here's the thing, whether you sacrifice for your faith or not, you're still sacrificing. Because you have to sacrifice something you have to give up something to do anything. You've probably heard the statement, to say yes to something is to say no to a million other things. That's sacrifice. But here's the thing about our faith. We have to stop thinking that we are sacrificing who we are, what we say, what we do to earn God's love. We sacrifice who we are, what we do, what we say, how we speak, even how we think, because of what Jesus has already done for us. And I'm telling you, there is a tremendous change here. This changes everything. Because here's something that I just need you to let me explain it, and then you're going to get it, because at first you're going to be like, that makes no sense. I need you to hear me say this. Every single thing that you sacrifice for Jesus is for you, not for him. Everything that you sacrifice for Jesus is for you, and it's not for him. That sounds crazy. Maybe it doesn't, but I'm going to explain it anyways. You could sacrifice everything about yourself, be the perfect person, live the perfect Christian life, never do anything wrong for the rest of your life again, which is an impossibility, but say you did. And let me tell you, Jesus wouldn't love you more. Jesus wouldn't love you less, but he wouldn't love you more. Do you know why? Because Jesus didn't do what he did so that you would sacrifice. He did what he did because he loves you. He did what he did while you were still the worst sinner that you could be. But sacrifice is for us. We sacrifice because God has showed us the best way to live life. What does that mean? That means we sacrifice our time to read the Bible because it lets us get closer to God, and that's a good thing for us. We sacrifice the language we use because it makes us a better person. We sacrifice how kind we are to our friends because it makes us a better friend. We sacrifice even how we think about people because it makes us a better person. We sacrifice how encouraging we are because it makes other people enjoy us more. Our sacrifice does nothing for our relationship with Jesus. It is everything for our relationship with who we are. Because being a Christian, yes, first and foremost, and in a bullet point, full stop, it's about following Jesus. But sacrificing is all about getting back to the person we were meant to be. We sacrifice who we are for who God wants us to be because God made us. God decided what was good for us to be. And sacrificing is us obeying what he said. And I think that's so huge for us because I think a lot of us think of sacrifice as I got to not do what I want to do what God wants to do. I got to not do what I want to do to obey God and just kind of fall into the system of what it means to be a Christian. That's not true. You see, what you'll find out is if you sacrificed what you wanted to do what God wanted you to do, you would be happier. You would be more joyful. You would start to become the person God always meant you to be. You will get back to the natural way of living. I think we fall into this lie that to be a Christian or to live the way Jesus lived, the Jesus way, if you will, would be to fall into the unnatural. And can I tell you, it's the opposite. To live out the Jesus way would actually be to go back to the natural way you were always meant to live. Because I think if we can see anything in the world around us right now, is that it is so unnatural. Think if we can look around at the things that the world wants and the world says we should chase after and the world says that we should enjoy, I think we'll see that the opposite is true. And our goal as Christians is to get back to the way God always meant us to live, the good, great, sacrificial way. I'm going to close, and we're actually not even going to close with the song. I'm just going to pray. But before I do, I just want to ask you a question. And what would it look like if we all left here and we changed and started living differently because what Jesus has already done for us, instead of trying to earn it? Hear me say this. You will never earn the free gift of God. All you have to do is accept it. He is willing. Are we? Jesus has already shown that he is willing by what he has done. Now the question stands, are we willing as well? Let me pray for us. Thank you for listening. We hope you have a great week and that you are a light for Jesus. Grace and peace.